Hello, and thanks to Architecture and Design Scotland for asking for a presentation on the Foresterhill project. I work for Scottish Natural Heritage's Green Infrastructure team. We are part of the European Regional Development Fund programme in Scotland. We fund projects that create or improve green space in large urban areas and which benefit areas of multiple deprivation. The Foresterhill project was awarded a grant of about £660,000 for a project of just under 1.7 million. That project is only phase one of a much larger green space project at Foresterhill. What I want to show is where the idea came from, the site context, how it started in design, what was added during the Green Infrastructure Fund application, focusing on one part of the project in particular. The driving force behind the project is the Green Exercise Partnership, working with NHS Grampian in this case. The Green Exercise Partnership was formed in 2007 by NHS Scotland, the Forest Commission and Scottish Natural Heritage. Its aim is to make outdoor therapies mainstream in the design and use of the NHS estate. There is well-established evidence that getting outdoors and making contact with nature is beneficial and automatic. In a hospital context, even being able to see green space speeds recovery. The side benefits of improving green space for exercise in the green NHS estate include reduced or value-added maintenance, more sustainability, including mitigation and adaptation to climate change, and a contribution to public bodies' biodiversity duty. The next slide is a minute-long trailer on the work of the Green Exercise Partnership. Foresterhill is Europe's largest hospital campus, but only started being built in the 1930s. Before that, it was largely farmland, with a bit of parkland at Woodhill House. As far back as the 1840s, the Gilcomston burn appears straightened. Since opening in September 1936, building continued incrementally and in an ad hoc manner. Even now, there is development change that has impacted on green space design. It is not surprising that Foresterhill has a large proportion of its surface given over to cars. It serves a huge rural hinterland, and the public transport doesn't always fit with shift patterns to help people get to work or visit relatives. However, we all need to do more with less. Why not use the outdoors? If you needed to take a break, would you sit here? No seats, by the way, and quite a walk from the main buildings. Or would you prefer to sit here? This is a part of the funded project that has been completed. It is less than 5 minutes from the main building and no need to walk through the car park. Moving about Foresterhill can be an unpleasant experience, increasing tension for people visiting relatives and not providing any escape for patients that could get out and about. The Green Exercise Partnership commissioned ERZ Urban to develop a green space master plan for the campus in late 2015. The aim was to move away from a site dominated by catering for vehicle movements to an increase in green space, encouraging walking between parts of the site, creating destination green space to add relaxation and recovery for both staff and patients. Now I am going to focus on an area to the west of the site that best demonstrates the multifunctional nature of the project. This is looking towards the new health centre. There are quite often queues of traffic waiting to get into the car park. The verge is doing nothing for the hospital and is a cost because it has to be mown regularly. The ground in front of the health centre is not used. This is the Gilcomston burn mentioned earlier. As you can see, it isn't that natural in shape and is pretty low in biodiversity. For most of the year, it isn't visible because of the dense vegetation to the right. Although that has some biodiversity value, overall it may have a negative impact because it looks uncared for. This space isn't doing anything for the purpose of the hospital and has limited biodiversity value, but that's about it. In fact, the straightened nature of the Gilcomston burn causes a bit of a problem downstream. The green arrow shows the downstream limit of the NHS estate at Foresterhill. In common with most of our project applicants, the project team had not tapped into just how much they could do for other planning objectives with little or no cost to themselves. They knew that they would reduce surface water flooding on site, but hadn't realised how much impact they would have on the other NHS site at Cornhill, which is the first large area of flooding downstream of the Arrow and further downstream in Aberdeen. From a funding point of view, this is important because our funding is competitive, and the more a project can do, the better. This is the current design for the area in front of the health centre and across the road by the car park. In fair weather, this will be one of the 4 destination green spaces on the campus. There will be step seating and permanent shallow water by the burn. During a public consultation on a different project in Easterhouse, Glasgow, a member of the public said everyone loves some open water because it's so relaxing. The current mature trees are retained. During heavy rain events, the pond will fill up, followed by the area further to the left. Water from the car park surface will be slowed down in the overlapping sculpture. As a result, the flood risk downstream will be reduced. One of the problem issues that arose was the verge of the car park was to have trees, but on closer ground investigation, a lot more services that were known about were found. Planting trees would still be possible, but at a very large increased cost. The design was changed to linear wildflower meadows. From a green infrastructure perspective, this may be as good or better. The same area as the previous slide, but as a visualisation. Once completed in 2021, the vacant and derelict site that it was will be working much harder for the hospital. Thank you for listening. I am happy to have inquiries about this or other projects in the Green Infrastructure Fund. It is best to email greeninfrastructure@nature.scot.